All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another CTC software webinar. Today we're going to focus on point file converter and how it can help to simplify your field codes for your crews and your office staff. As we go along here, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions panel and we will save time at the end to get to those. And as always, this webinar will be recorded to our YouTube channel and be available shortly after the broadcast is completed. And if you're watching on YouTube and you have questions, put them in the comments pane and we will get those and get an answer over to you. My name is Tony Crick. I'm the Civil Product Manager here at CTC Software. So with that, let's get started. Point file converter is a survey point file tool that will convert all of our points from one code to another. So we can allow all of our field crews to be working in one code list, and then the CAD processing can be done in another if you need to, and through a simple Excel translation file, it will spell out the code conversions and the tool will read those conversions back and apply them to one or more point files. And that will help us to zero in on our line coding with our prefixes and suffixes and our field code delimiters, escape codes, and they're all accounted for. And the users can create as many translation files as needed and then just point the files to the tool. And then we'll do all the translating for you. So it's part of our CIM Project Suite of tools, and it is intended for the everyday Civil 3D user creating design and production drawings. Would be used mostly in this case by the survey office personnel. We are currently at version 26.1, and it will work back into the last 4 versions of Civil 3D, so 2022 or newer. So if you don't have it and you want to upgrade, make sure you're using Civil 3D 2022 or something newer. So today we're going to show you how the tool can convert multiple field codes into one standard format, which will help eliminate manual cleanup of survey point files. And it will also standardize your various field crews data and prepare Civil 3D ready files quickly and accurately. So what does it really do? It automates those tedious tasks of having to pour through a survey field code list, find the errors, convert them into your standard point file coding that will match your description key sets, your figure databases, and so on. So we can convert one survey coding standard to another, and we can apply it to typical survey point files such as a CSV, a TXT, a ASC, etc. It will help us match our line work codes and our description key sets more consistently with a simple translation interface that will report and track your errors. And it is easy to create and update. So no need to waste time editing manually. And it can be used for Civil 3D, MicroStation, Trimble, etc. Whatever point system you use it for, it will work in that. And then it will translate the points from outside of your organization. And we can create templates that we can keep for different conversions. And what it will really do is we'll make your survey crews happy. No more confusion in the field of which code we're going to shoot today. We're just shooting one standard code that matches our company standards, and we can convert those back in the office and keep everybody happy. So let's jump in and take a look. All right, so here's a survey site. Let's say that you got these points from an outside entity. Maybe somebody else went and shot those. Maybe it was a combination, what have you, but they don't match your description keys and your figure databases. So if you bring them in, you get something like this, or maybe you didn't even bring them in. Maybe they didn't get you the CSV, but you do have the points. So what would we do to make that work for us? Well, there's a number of ways to do this. In Civil 3D, we can open up our description key set right here. This is the one we needed to match to get our line code sets working. And we can do that this way, manually through Civil 3D, kind of slowly, but it's a one-off. And we also need to make sure we're matching our figure databases as well. So let me make that one current. So we need to match something like that, and it doesn't. So what would we need to do here? Well, we would need to get our description key sets out of there. So we have one in here. We have a description key set that matches our CTC. And I'm going to quickly just touch on another one of our tools from the Manager Suite. And that is our exporting of description key sets. To make this a little easier for you, if you're doing this for the first time, if you need to create a point file code list, you can do that right here. If you had multiples here, you'd have the selections from there, and then you just hit the export and tell where you want it to go. So I'm going to put that in my Excel file right here. I'm going to leave it set to that name, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. So then it's going to open it up for you automatically, and from here we can start to change things. So if you did get this from an outside entity and you needed to make a translation code for this, it's pretty easy to do. If you wanted to do it that way, you could just copy from here, make a new tab, paste it in here, and then start to work on some descriptions for these. So if I wanted to put a new header in there for descriptions, script. So if I did that, let me match that, and I could start to enter these in, and I could create a field code set that I could then bring in. So if I started entering some coding here, we can figure out what a lot of these are. And we can start to enter those in. And if we just simply remove all of these with a replace, and replace all, and we can start to export those out. So that's sort of how we would create our little, as I call it, the cheat sheet thing. And I have those created here. So this might be a workflow thing you might want to have. So if I have this, I can carry, this is my cheat sheet, I call it. So I could carry this forward if I wanted to. Okay, so I could have that as a thing, and I could start to enter in as I get these from other entities. So these are my CTC codes. These are the ones the guys are going to shoot in the field with some line coding work here, but maybe the city does something a little different. Maybe you've got a big long list and your crews are out there shooting something like this. Maybe they're carrying this around with them in their pockets, and now they have to find their codes, and what happens? They just give up. They can't find the code in here that they would normally do, and they just enter any old thing. So that's really not ideal. So what we'd want to do is create a translator file, something like this. So if I started just entering these in and I said, I'm just going to do a few of these here. Back of curb, spot bit, let's say. Let's do one more. If that was building face, and I could start to copy these into my translator file and matching those up. I'll just do these few. And I start to drop these in here. And now I can just start to match these up with what they are as to our descriptions. Okay, so pretty easy to get this going, and then keep this as a running file for yourselves right here. So then that way, when you build your translator files, you can just copy all of these out and paste them in. So that's why I keep that as a cheat sheet, kind of a working copy. Any companies that you might have that you're matching, cities, counties, what have you. So once we've done that, we can start to use point file converter. Hang on, let me close this other one here as an example. Not saving that today. So let's jump back to our CIM Project Suite. So point file converter is up here on your ribbon tab, but it also works outside of the tools themselves. So I have it pinned to my tray right here, to my task tray down here, so I can get at it all the time. You can leave it open if you want to. It doesn't affect how it operates, but what it does do is it will eat up a license. So if you were on limited licensing, you probably wouldn't want to leave that open, but it can be opened either way. So you don't even need to have Civil 3D open to do translating of files. You can just take a point file that you got from somebody and start to translate it. So first thing I would need to do is I would need to get these points out of here. So if I come here and I export these, and I want to include any invert data that they might have. In this case, I have a format that's built to do that. And then where do I want them to go? I'm going to put them into my project CSV file, and I'm going to give it the same name as they had there. So 8101 site adjusted. And open that. I'll let it do everything here. If I wanted to limit that to point groups, I could. And I'm just going to say OK here. So now I have a point file that I can convert from. So let's get point file converter back up here. I'll open it from here. So now we have point file converter. So what are the things we need? Well, we need our translation files. And did I show you that before? Let's go back there. So in my folder here, I have a translators file, which is where my cheat sheet multi-code came from. And now I have some other converter files here. One that's going to go a CTC file back to city, a CTC file back to DOT. If I wanted to make them the other way, I could just flip-flop them. But if I needed to save those to a city file or a DOT to get those out after my guy shot them, I would want to do that. In this case, we're going to use this one. So it's our firm A to CTC to convert what we got from them. If you don't have those, you need to do that for the first time. We have a sample translator file, and you need to keep these in the same order when you are first using this. So your old code would be your code that we just exported here, and the new code is going to be our CTC, in this case, coding. And then we have prefixes. So if we had a prefix to that, we could match those up. A suffix. So if we had an old suffix and a new suffix, if you're doing line coding for different back of curbs, let's say you got back of curb 1, back of curb 2, maybe they had back of curb A, maybe they go B, A, B, C, whatever they do, you can convert that to yours if you guys are shooting numerically. And then the code delimiter, if it's space, the old code is space, you want it to be a period. And same for the escape code if you're doing extra coding in there. And these can be there if they're not used, that's fine. That's typically fine. Won't mess anything up. And if you're doing this for the first time, we have over here the directions on how to use this translator the first time. So if you follow these directions, you will be able to muddle your way through this. It's very simple. It's self-explanatory for the most part. And you can start to create those template files. So as I close this, I'm going to leave my cheat sheet up there. So what we want to do is we want to convert, because this didn't come in with any line work, no survey figures. So we want to replace that. So in this case, let's go open that CSV that we just dumped out there. So that's this one. So here's what we got. Here's what we exported. And I had that format to export these, because if they shot any storm or sanitary with invert information, I would get that here. And it's not affected by our translator at all. It will come in just as we see here. I'll go ahead and save that. So as we take a look at this, our point file converter, get that out of the background. So what we have here is things we want to convert. So this is ignore comments after field code escape. If you have those, if you don't have anything set up, check that, and that will take care of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to convert column 5, and that's our 5th place here. So point number, northing, easting, elevation, description. That's number 5. That's what we're matching. Okay, if you had it the same converter in the first row, you would want to put 1. However you do it, this is typical formatting. This is what it's going to do. So as we do that, what we need to do is we need to translate the file that we just exported. So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab it. So if I come and I get from my CSV file, I'm going to open that. Back up one. Let me grab it again. Okay. Okay, so I want my translation file. I'm doing that wrong. I apologize, it's this I want, kicks me right there. Okay, so now I need to grab my CSV file. So that's here, and that's that. So some of the things I'm gonna get. So that's what the translation file, you get your translator that we made in the background. And I'll show you that in a second. So these are the things we're going to translate. We're going to, that file we just dumped out, we're going to make it comma delimited, and we're going to give it a name. We could save it to a specific place if we wanted to. We could give it a prefix. I'm going to give it this suffix. It comes by default with this converted. I'm putting my initials there just so we know who created it. And then it's going to give me a report code for any errors that might have occurred. So if I tell it to apply, right away I'm going to get that error code. So here are some of the errors that have found that it's not going to translate. A lot of these aren't going to matter. We've got 18 is probably a size of a tree or something, and then we've got some coding to get multiple line work for our curbs. That won't affect us. What are some of the other things we have here? So we have some other tree notations here that we might want to clean up. ATM we don't have. So I can save this if I want, keep that report and keep it running. Let me put that in today's folder. I'll just call it error, leave it at error report. So now we have that report. If we need to fall back on it to take a look at it, here it is right here. We can keep that open and we can start to go through our converter and see what we may have missed. So let me close that file. Let me open my converter. So if I go to my translator folder and I open this up, these are the things I've put into there to start with. So I did my copy paste, I put those in there. We've got some line coding stuff here, some other stuff, some point on curve, so things to make it work. But we're missing a couple of things in there that if we want to add for trees, maybe they've got a TR, hunt that down and fix that. So some things we could do as we go along here, and once you get that, we get consistent stuff from a outside entity, or especially if we're working with a government entity, that stuff will be very consistent, and we can edit these as we go, and then we'll save these as needed. So I think we're fine right there. We've got it good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and close this. We've saved it. I'll just hit save again. And we can close this. We can say, okay, the translation is complete. And now we can go look at our point code list. So where did I put it? Good question. Let's go look at it. Oh, I put it in the wrong folder again. Let's do it again. I'll do it again. Put it in here. Wait, I need my translator, which I had. Cancel that. Let me grab my translator code. So we come here. Okay, open that up. And now I'm getting, I don't know why it keeps jumping back to that one. To there, grab this again, open it. I'll do everything the same. I'm gonna hit apply again, just to get this in the right folder. So I'm right off the bat, I'm seeing an error right here that we didn't have in the other one, an OC. So we saw that was in the translator code. Let me save this over top of my error code here. Yes, so I know I need to change that right there. So my line coding, we'll get that out of there. Translation is complete. Let me go back to that. Do I have it open here? Let me go back to my translator file and open this up. So what happened was, we say it's POC, they say it's OC, and I've got POC there. So if I just change that to OC, and I save it, and we go back and do it again, we should see that that went away. So let's go back and do that again. So we can leave this open just as it is. I need the same translator. Grab that guy. Get that one out of there. I'm going to take that one out too, just to be sure I get the correct one. Let's grab that again. I'm going to leave that as it is. Apply it. So now I see that OC has gone away. I'm just going to say OK this time. And apply. Oops. And I'm good to go. So now that all that is taken care of, all my line coding should come in fine. So let's come back to our drawing here and let's get these old points out of there. Oops. So I'm going to, oops, I want them out of here. Let's get these out of here and delete them all. Yes. Okay, so now they're gone and I can re-import those. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do it through importing my survey data. Go through the typical stuff here. I want to point file. Make sure I don't have it open. And I'm going to make sure I use this as my formatting. Go get that point file, this one. So now I know it should come in fine. I'll hit my next thumb through here. Make sure I process my line work, and my figure database should come with it as well. I think it's good to go. We've got the right one. So to finish. And we should get the points back with our new coding and our line work. While it is doing that, because we don't need to be in there to do it, we can let that do that, and we can do another converting back. So let me take this one out of here, and let's take and convert that back the other way. If we had a different file that we had created, so I want to convert from my CTC back to a city code, for instance. I come in here to my CSVs. Now I can grab this that was converted that we brought in from a city, made it work for us, and I can move that back. And I can make that the converted back. So I'm going to put on here city. I'm going to tell it to apply it. And we see a few errors that we made that we would have to clean up there again. So no sign, striping, some of these things we didn't do before. And we can take a look at how those are different. So if I look at the point file before, so I look at these two. So I want to look at that one. And I want to look at that one versus the converted one. So I just dock that guy up there. Oops, wrong one. Okay, we'll go get that other one to look at. So that was this one. And we can see how these have changed. So it was edge of bit begin for our line work, and they use ST for start. Some of the other things, some of the other coding. So we put that back to the way the city likes to do things. So let's get these points back in here and the line work. And there we have it. So now we can review these. We see that we've got some of our right layering here. And now we know what the point code insertion did. So we've got a little bit of cleanup to do there, but not much. And after we clean that up, we can clean up the point file itself, re-import them, use Survey Sweeper to clean that up, and we'll be good to go. So that's point file converter. In conclusion, it is a part of the CIM Project Suite of tools. We're currently at version 26.1. We also have our Manager Suite, which you just saw a little bit of. If you're not up to date, you can click the About button on there. In fact, let me pop back and show you how to get at that, where you find out in the drawing. So open point file converter, hit the open, and right here, it will tell you what version you're on. If you don't have it, you can go get it right there. If you don't have it at all, you can contact us here at CTC Software, and we'd be glad to help you out. And as always, if you have any ideas or need any help with anything, please contact our support. All of our tools are made for you to make your life easier, get your projects done faster, and we take all of your ideas and turn them into reality. So with that, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and we hope to see you at the next webinar.